I've had this SeaWhite of Brighton watercolour sketchbook for quite a while, and I thought what better way to start off the year than a first page in my sketchbook video. I think most people would agree that there's quite a bit of fear when it comes to filling the first page in the sketchbook because you might be scared of messing up or creating a substandard piece of work, as it were. But I think that these things sometimes have to be pushed through in order to get going in a sketchbook. Now, one thing to remember is when you're starting a new sketchbook, there's nothing that says you have to start on the very first page. Now, some people do like to go in order with their sketchbooks. I'm one of those people. I do like to go in order throughout my sketchbook, so I will start on the first page. Even if my piece of artwork doesn't turn out the best, I am going to be starting on that first page in today's video. But there's nothing to say that you have to start on that first page. You could start in the middle, you could just add one page on and go on to the second page. It's entirely up to you what page you actually start your sketchbook on. If you are starting on the first page but you're feeling a little bit daunted, why not start with something that's really familiar to you, something you feel really confident in drawing and you draw a lot, because this is going to be something that you'll be able to look back on and see that actually you had quite a lot of skill level for that particular drawing because you practice it quite a lot, and you'll feel quite comfortable going in on that first page with something that you draw all the time. It will give a little bit of a flavour of who you are as an artist and what types of things you like to create. You also don't need to start with anything like a painting or a drawing at all. You could just start out as a journal page, adding your intentions on what you would like this sketchbook to include. So it could be that you set out your ideas for a project within the sketchbook, or just what you're hoping to achieve, or your aims for this, or your goals on what you might be wanting to practice within this sketchbook. When you look back, you can see whether or not you managed to achieve everything that you were hoping to set out and achieve with this sketchbook. You could use the first page as a swatch page, so you could swatch out all of the art materials or art mediums that you would like to use in this sketchbook, so you've got a reference at the very beginning of the book of all of the different art mediums that you would like to use within the sketchbook itself. So it could be a really handy reference to have at the very beginning of your sketchbook. Save the very first page in your sketchbook until the very end, and then use it as a contents page and list all of the different things that you've worked on throughout the sketchbook, so you can easily identify what page they're on, and also just show a contents list of everything you have created. I think this would be a really fun idea for the first page in a sketchbook, so you can see absolutely everything you have created in one place. You could name all of your pieces of artwork and give them really fun titles for a contents page. You could save the very first page for last, so create a whole body of work in your sketchbook and then go back to that very first page, and then you might have all of these ideas based on what you've created in that sketchbook that you can then fill on that first page, and then you might have an absolute work of art on the first page within the sketchbook because you've kept that page for last. Another thing that I think is really important is having a sketchbook that is just for experimentation and for allowing yourself to mess around in your sketchbook. Your sketchbook doesn't always have to be filled with the most pristine paintings or the most pristine drawings, because the only way you're ever going to make improvements is by allowing yourself to experiment with either new mediums or new ways of using mediums you feel comfortable with, and allowing yourself that space to experiment is really, really important. Maybe you have an entire sketchbook just for experimentation. It doesn't need to look pristine throughout. You might have a few really high quality pieces dotted throughout it, but there are going to be pages and pages where you might just have drawings that are incomplete or not perfect. I think it's important to remember that what we might see on social media with these perfect layouts and sketchbooks is actually they take a lot of planning and they take a lot of time to complete. So try not to compare yourself to how other people might be filling their sketchbooks, because they may have a sketchbook that is just purely for experimentation and for practicing skills or allowing themselves to make little mistakes. And remember, no one is going to judge you on your sketchbook, other than of course everyone watching this YouTube video and looking at what I've created on my first page in my sketchbook. But on the whole, the average person that's not sharing their sketchbooks with the internet, they will not be having people judge them on the first page in their sketchbook. Try to remember that you are going to be the only person that is judging your sketchbook. Another idea that you could think of is starting from the back of your sketchbook and working your way forward, and then when you come to finish that sketchbook, it's going to then have that progression from your end point to your starting point, which could be quite interesting to see. I've decided to go for quite a simple little landscape for the first page in my sketchbook, just because I'm wanting to use this sketchbook as a place for creating landscapes and thinking about how I can improve my landscape painting. So I thought it would be a good idea for this one to create a little watercolour painting for the very first page, and then hopefully as I go through this one I'll be able to see a natural progression in my skill level from the very first page until the last page. And I'm excited to see how I can progress with my skill level and just show that within my sketchbook from my beginning point to the end point. So for me, I didn't necessarily feel there was too much pressure to make the most perfect painting on this very first page, because I know that I want to show my progress throughout this sketchbook, and I didn't want to put loads and loads of pressure on myself to try and create something that was going to be beyond my skill level. And I just wanted to sit and relax and have a really chilled out evening. I think just try and have some fun in your sketchbook, try not to take it too seriously, and if all else fails, don't use that first page in your sketchbook, because sometimes getting started is the hardest part, and then once you break that barrier you can then just go for it and you can keep creating, and all of these ideas will start generating and you will feel so much more inspired to actually create artwork that first page in your sketchbook won't, it won't be holding you back. If you have got any other tips on starting a new sketchbook or that first page in your sketchbook, let me know in the comments, because I'm sure it will help other people, and it'd also be really great to hear what you guys have to say. If you have enjoyed today's video, please do give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.